Hey everybody, Karen here. Welcome back to Unpins Creative. Today we are going to fill some giant pockets in the elf journal. First thing I better do is put my glasses on. I tried crafting yesterday and forgot to put my glasses on, and that didn't go well, I can tell you. Okay, so I've done a tiny bit since you last saw me work in this journal. Added a fabric ruffle, just added some fibres to some pages, done some stitching, nothing too dramatic, but we're going to work on filling these pockets in this giant envelope page that we've made. So I'll pop the journal out of the way, bring in my cutting mat because I'm going to need to do some cutting. So we need a giant tag for here, something to put into this giant pocket, and two small tag type things for these pockets, although they're not that small. I'm not sure if I've given you an idea of the size of this journal, but it is 28 centimeters or 11 inches high and just over 7.5 inches or 19.5 centimeters wide. So that's the page width. So they're not actually too small, these pockets. And then we need another giant tag for the back here. So what I have done so far is pulled out a bunch of stuff. I just have a scrap piece of card in case I need to strengthen any of the tags. I have some wrapping paper, some wallpaper. I've just got some pieces of paper bags. I like these paper bags because they have a print on them. Some music paper, more wrapping paper. And then I have some pictures from my animal books, so I'll get to those in a minute. Just some scrapbook paper that I picked up at the thrift shop, and some writing paper or printer paper that is Christmas themed that I also managed to find at the thrift shop. Some music paper, right, and my animal books. So if you've been following, you probably have noticed that I use a lot of nature themed stuff in my journals, and I particularly love using animals. So I've pulled out a couple of pages that I think might work with this journal. I have this beautiful deer. So even though it's not a winter scene, I love it, and you know, it's a magical land where elves live, so that could quite possibly exist there. So I might use that. And I have this beautiful squirrel here. Might use that. And then there are some cute images in this book as well that I might end up going with for the smaller tags. So the first thing that I need to do is prep the images because they are glossy, and I don't really like using glossy images in my books. So I will pull out the ones that I'm going to use, and then I'll show you what I do to prep them for use in my journals. So I'm definitely going to use that one. I think I'll definitely use this one. I think we'll have this gorgeous image with the little mouse thing. It's a gerbil. In the ice. That's cool. Hopefully we can get that to work. It's probably not quite the right size, but I'll see what I can do. Alright, let's start with that and see how we go. Look at that beautiful bunny. Oh, They're just so gorgeous. Okay. Alright, images are chosen. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to trim off this edge of this one. That wasn't very well done, was it? Oh, now I've ripped it. Okay. Alrighty, let's use scissors. Silly me. Alrighty, so to prep these images, I'm going to pop some paper down. I use clear gesso. Now you can use any kind of clear gesso, it doesn't matter, but I use homemade, which is PVA glue, water and cornstarch, and it works really well. So I use this for taking the gloss off of images, and also for gluing tissue when I use tissue in my projects, and I love it. So you just cover the top of the image with a layer of clear gesso. Now what you'll find is some images that are really high gloss, this one is fine, might create some kind of beading in the gesso, so you might end up with a kind of textured surface or mottled surface, I guess. This one is fine. We'll see if it happens on any of the others. This one should be fine too, coming from the same book. So just a thin layer is all you need. And it really doesn't take very long to dry, so I just do it at the start of my project and it's dry by the time I'm ready to use it. There's such a wealth of resources available to you for paper crafting in books from the thrift shop, and you don't have to like, I generally go for books that aren't popular, I guess, that aren't likely to be sold, so books that are out of date, you know, that sort of thing, or books that are really common to find. So some of these books I have a few copies of because I find them all the time at the thrift shop, so that makes me feel better about using them in my projects. And also because they're such beautiful images, I really want to, you know, to share them with the world and give them another purpose than sitting in a book that's not going to be read or looked at. So that's just how I justify using, in my own head, justify using book images. So here's a good example of the mottling that might occur. You can see down here how the gesso has kind of avoided a little bit of the page. Now, of the image, I don't mind that, and because it ends up, once the gesso is clear, it ends up giving a really cool texture, but you can just try going over it again a few more times to take care of that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's dry, if it gives that mottled effect. And a jar of this clear gesso lasts for ages and ages, so I highly recommend making some if you think it's something you'll use. Alrighty, so that is done. Easy peasy, ready to go. And you can see that they're drying really well already, so it's not going to be long and I'll be able to work with those. I'm going to pop them out of the way and we'll get the rest of the tags prepped. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is decide what's going on the opposite side of those images. So I know I want to use these 2 sheets of paper, so that takes care of 2 of the larger images. I also have a piece of music that the song is something about old Saint Nick, and it has some lyrics there about Christmas time and Saint Nick, so I'd quite like to use that. So that will take care of the back of another of the larger images. And then I just have to decide what I want for the 2 smaller ones, the 2 smaller tags. And I think I might use the brown paper. We'll see if we need to use wrapping paper later. Okay. Right, next I need to decide what size I need my tags to be. So I have 2 of these pockets. So I want my tag to be about 18 by 25. So let's just pull in one of these. So that's good, they're only a tiny bit too big, so I'll just trim those a bit later. Let's see what size these are. Perfect. Okay, so that is the back for the 3 big giant tags, and now the smaller ones need to be, I'm going to say 12 by 18. These are all dry now, so let me see. I don't know if you can see, but there is a tiny bit of mottling down here. I don't think you can see it on the camera, but it's just a bit that is not quite as matte as the rest of the page, and it just kind of looks like water splatters really, so I am 100% okay with that. So the next thing I'm going to do is put the back on the image and get the image to the right size, and also decide if that is heavy enough to slide in and out of a pocket, and I don't think it is, so I'm going to cut some card, especially for the bigger pocket at the back. I think it'll be okay for the tuck pockets, these ones, just the 2 pages will be okay, they don't need stiffening further, but for this larger pocket it will be helpful getting the tag in and out to have it quite a bit stiffer. So I'm going to decide what I want in that larger pocket, and then pop a piece of this heavier card in between the 2 pages. So I think I'd quite like the hedgehog to go in that larger pocket. And what am I going to put on the back of him? Yeah, I think I'll put this on the back. So I'm just going to take a bit off the top and side of that page. I keep all my little strips like this because you never know when they'll come in handy. Alright, I'm going to pop that down onto the card with some glue. I'm going to use Rachel from Roxy Creations trick and use glue stick on the inside, seeing as it's such a big page. And then my wet glue just around the outside. Again, I'm going to use my craft knife to cut that out. Alrighty, and then we can pop the other piece of paper on the back. So glue in the middle, glue stick in the middle. And then wet glue around the outside. One tag. Just have to finish decorating it now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop the backs on the rest of the images. So these ones, which are going in these big tuck pockets, I'm not going to worry about putting card in the middle of. I'm just going to glue the backings directly onto. The other reason why I love using books like this is because they're not books that junk journalers or crafters typically go for from thrift shops, so I'm not battling you know, to find them with other crafters. meaning they're easier to find and more readily available for me. So, but I love using them in my journal, so maybe that's a very unpopular choice, but I think they turn out pretty cool. And voila, we have 3 giant tags, or the base for 3 giant tags. Right, next, the small ones. The small ones I'm going to back on the card as well, because they're going to be sliding into those pockets, so they need to be quite stiff, in my opinion, to get them in and out easily. Let's see how they're going to fit on the page. Alright, I'm going to glue them on like that. That is all our tags backed. Alrighty, I want the tags to relate to this pocket with regards to decoration. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a bit more white gesso to this gesso mix that I made to cover that envelope, and a wee bit more paint just to mix up a bit more because I didn't have very much left. I can't remember if this was the colour I used initially, but I think it was something like this. And then I'm just going to take my paintbrush, mix that up. Oh, yep, that's quite a good match. I only need a really tiny bit. Okay, so I've got that ready to go. And to start with, I'm just going to water this down a wee bit more because we want it quite translucent. Yep, I think that's good. And then I'm just going to go around the edges. I don't know, you can't see Cersei, but she is just off screen with her head in the paint water. Cersei girl, my cat, who loves to craft with me and is usually on the craft table. She hasn't been around for a while actually. Okay, I think that is enough. I'm not worried about getting the paint on the backs of them because it just adds to the cohesiveness of it all. Ties the back into the front, and I like messy and grungy, so. Alright, so they'll dry really quickly as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring in some of the stamping and then some of the texture paste. And on the envelope I used a sage green ink and a black ink, but for these, because there's already quite a bit of black in the background of these images, I'm just going to use a library green colour. So yeah, it still ties it in, but it's a little bit different to the envelope. Making sure that the gesso and paint is dry, because we don't want to get gesso all over our blending brush. So that's that. You can see how well, hopefully you can see how the picture is now becoming less of a picture out of a book and more integrated into kind of junk journal style, hopefully. Alright, so homemade texture paste. It's Mod Podge, gesso and baby powder. And I really need to make some more because it's getting quite sticky now and not very much left. Alright, I'm going to add some of this to the pages. Just fairly randomly, like I did on the envelope. Not worrying too much about how messy it is, or tidy. Messy or tidy, it won't be tidy, I can tell you. Yeah, just a few bits, not a lot. Make sure you wash off your tools straight away. Don't leave them. That's a lesson I've learned the hard way, because they will be ruined. Alright, do you remember me saying I wanted to back these? And then I forgot and didn't do it, did I? Silly me. Oh dear. Okay, so these are way too flimsy to use like they are as tags for pockets. So we're going to back them, because I was going to just use the brown paper bag as the back for journaling on, but obviously that's not going to work now because it's not strong enough. So I might use some wallpaper. Yep, pink. Shall I use the pink? Yep, I'm going to use the pink wallpaper. So all I'm going to do is glue these down onto the wallpaper now. That texture paste is still drying, so I've got to be careful not to touch it. Don't touch it, Karen. So I'm going to glue the wallpaper with my glue stick. and carefully without touching the texture paste. Wallpaper is not cut straight, so I need to do it at an angle, but that's okay because I'll trim it later. Ideally, one would wait for the texture paste to dry and then do this, but I am not big on dry time. I don't have any patience. Oh yeah, I put my glue on top of the thing. Honestly, I'm sure that everyone in the world is a much tidier, less messy crafter than me. Awesome. Okay, let's cut those out. Now I need to let that glue stick dry because it's still very floppy, but I'm going to round the corners on these ones because I like rounded corners for tags. Not, well, you know, journaling card type things. I keep calling them tags, but they're really journaling cards, aren't they? These big ones I like just as they are, so I'm going to leave those for now. All I'm going to do is add like a tab top to them, probably. These ones I want to do a bit more with. So let's glue that down. Okay, let's get some toppers on tabs on these journaling cards and then we can be done. Alright, tabs I'm going to make out of this. So to make tabs I just cut a rectangle of card. I don't really worry about what specific size it is, and then I fold it in half, use my bone folder, and then I use my circle punch and line up the top edge and the side edge with the center mark on my circle punch and the halfway mark here on the side. And punch. And do the same the other on the other side. And that's what I use as a tab. And if I decide yep, I think that's perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable for a tab. Okay, let's see if we can get another one. Alrighty, by the magic of television and also the magic of my phone battery going flat, I have now finished the tags, but don't worry, you didn't miss much. So I just popped the tags on, put an eyelet in the top, and then attached some fibres to the top of the tag for all of them. So this is the completed squirrel tag. I haven't finished the back because that's not going to be good for journaling on, is it? So what I will probably do with that is ink around the edges, and I might just put some coffee dyed paper in the middle so that you can write on it. For that one, I forgot that that one had music paper on the back, silly me. So that is that one. This one. Oh, I pulled the other one out. This one, our hedgehog tag with some lovely fibres on the top, and journaling space on the back. I've left the tags really plain because then there's lots of space for the owner of the journal to add their own touch with decoration and stuff like that. If you have been following my journal making process, I like to do naked journals or minimally decorated journals for that reason, so that the actual owner of the journal can add their own touches and put their own, you know, heart and soul into it. So yeah, plenty of space to add extra decorating. So you could easily put a stamp up here or do a little collage or something like that. So this is the little field mouse tag, and you can easily journal on that. Put a stamp, put some lace, whatever you like up there. And this gorgeous little, I think it was a gerbil. It's so cute. Space for journaling on the back. And then the last one is the gorgeous deer. So cute. Again, stamping, lace, you know, even some sentiment, and space for journaling on the back, and lots of room to add some decoration up there. And I love how this deer fits into this page. So if you look at the expression on his face, it's like he is thinking, to me, this is the story I've created in my head, he's thinking, what is that silly little elf and those butterflies doing? I just love it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me again with this one. I hope you've enjoyed it and enjoyed seeing how I create giant journaling tags, and I will see you in the next one.